live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Cisse, and welcome to our weekly State of Affairs program. Well, this week, we focus on the work of the National Council for Civic Education, and of course, the ongoing supplementary voter registration and what it means for the credibility of the 2026 elections. Joining me this week are the chairman, of course, the new chairman of the National Council for Civic Education, Mamadou A. Cisse, who in the past had served in different capacities, including the clerk of the National Assembly. Chairman, welcome to the State of Affairs program.
Thank you, Aliou. Good to be here.
Thank you. And also joining me on the program is Yusufa Bojang, who is the Chief Civic Education Officer at the National Council for Civic Education. Yusufa, once again, good to have your program.
Thank you, Aliou. Thank you. Okay.
Chairman, to start with, congratulations on your well-deserved appointment as the new chair of the NCCE. Just start by telling us, what exactly are you bringing to the table as far as, your vision and reforms for the NCCE is concerned, especially at this critical moment in our country's democratic journey?
Okay, Aliou, thank you very much for having us. I want to start by explain the establishment of the National Council for Civic Education.
Okay.
The NCC is established by an act of the National Assembly. Act number 1 of 1998, which is in pursuant of section 198 of the 1997 Constitution. That is the establishment. We also have our mandate, which is to civically educate Gambians about their rights and responsibility. We also have a non-political status, which we have to maintain as far as the institution is concerned. And that is also guaranteed by section 1993 of the 1997 Constitution. Our mandate is very clear. It's to civically educate all Gambians.
And you are not political?
You are not political. That one has to be clear. Okay. Regardless of gender, age, and affiliation. That's our mandate. The NCCE is divided into two-tier structure. You have the council as the governing body. We deal with policies and oversight. And it's headed by myself as the chairman. Okay. And we also have the administrative wing, which is also headed by our chief Civic Education Officer, Mr. Bojang. Okay. We deal with administrative issues and also to implement our policies and programs. Then the administration is also responsible for the day-to-day administration of the office. Now, the NCCE play a very important central role in making sure that there is political awareness. One, we have sensitization. People are aware of their rights and responsibilities. And this is without exception. It's from Banjul to Koyana. It's all inclusive. And also we promote governance issue, citizen participation, and also constitutional awareness. However, Mr. Cisse, with the political situation now, the political, the social, and the technological issues, this institution, there is the demand for transformation of this institution. Okay. And this is exactly, and it should be anchored on financial autonomy, more independence, and visibility. This is what we, us as new council, are working towards. And this is what we want to achieve. This is our vision.
Yusufa, do you have anything that you want to add on to what Chairman has just mentioned?
No, I think you've said it all. And that is to say that the institution established since '98 and strictly mandated to spearhead civic education in the Gambia. And in doing that, our mandate is a broad mandate, talking about enlightening the citizens about their civic rights but also their responsibilities. Because for us, it's important. Know your right, but also know your responsibility, because these two goes together. Otherwise, you create what we call an imbalance, where you emphasize more about your rights, and then people forget about their responsibility, then it creates a chaotic society. And that is why anytime we talk about rights, we emphasize about your responsibility, which is very important. And beyond talking about your rights and responsibility, but also trying to promote peace, promoting unity and social cohesion, especially as we are journeying towards the election. So that becomes very important in our work.
I mean, Chairman, I mean, earlier on you made mention of the key mandate of the NCCE, which is to promote civic education, and you made it very clear that you are non-partisan. I mean, you also talk about the issue of the need to be independent, financial autonomy, which is very key as far as your work is concerned. Like I said earlier on, you are coming in as a new chair. I mean, what is your immediate priorities for the office as a new chairman, together with your team?
Our immediate priorities is financial, not only financial, but institutional autonomy, both financial and administrative. That's why we have a bill which we are consulting with partners to see how it can be passed at Parliament and ascended to by the President, His Excellency. That's the way forward, because these are guaranteed in the Constitution. They are constitutional requirements. And we will make sure that as new council, that we work with partners to ensure that these things happen. And I think the bill is right now with the Ministry of Justice, but we are still doing the consultation. Where it needs repeal, it has to be repealed. I don't think 1998 Act will still be relevant in 2026.
A lot has changed. Things are evolving. Things are evolving, to be honest. Yeah.
So this is the thinking we are having as new council.
And for you, Yusufa, I mean, just take us through. I mean, you have heard him talk about the new bill that you are trying to bring in to address some of the gaps that exist as we speak. I mean, he mentioned about the issue of the financial and institutional autonomy. What are some of the key things that you could share with us that the bill seeks to address as far as, I mean, the work of the NCC is concerned? Yeah,
so as he rightly said, 98 to today, that's a long period, and a lot has changed. So the 98 bill, yes, that is what is governing us, but we can see a lot of inadequacies, a lot of gaps. And among that, like he mentioned, financial autonomy gaps are there that we observe, but also even in terms of institutional structure, there are gaps also that we observe. So there are a lot of inadequacies that we observe, and that is what in fact informed the decision to come up with a new bill, because we think a lot of issues that we observe currently today in the operation of the institution, the bill should be able to address most of those issues, and that is why we had a bill. We hired a consultant, developed the bill. It went through the Ministry of Justice, and it's almost at the final stage to go to cabinet for cabinet approval, eventually to move to the National Assembly. So we are hoping that when the bill passes, a lot of challenges that we are having in terms of operations, in terms of finances, we think those things will be addressed.
But how is the bill going to address these issues that you've just highlighted? I mean, these are just things that you anticipate, that you hope the bill will achieve, but how will it address some of these concerns?
Yeah, because legal basis is the foundation of the institution. So most of the things you advocate for, if they are not catered for in the law, then it will be difficult for you to be able to get them. But once you get them in the bill, then it makes it mandatory on the authority to make sure that those things are put in place. For instance, let's say if you are to get your subvention, if there is a bill that said you should have your financial autonomy, meaning you should be receiving your money at the beginning of the year, you should be getting your money directly from the National Assembly. But without that, that means your subvention will be coming monthly as currently, that's the practice now. It comes monthly. So those kind of things, it make planning very difficult, because you cannot plan adequately as you wish to plan. So that is why we think the bill will help to do that, to make sure that to help us to be able to do our work as we envisage.
I mean, Chairman, I know you're just coming in newly. I mean, you are trying to settle in the office. Tell us, I mean, how has the lack of financial autonomy actually limits the work of the NCCE? Like you said, I mean, you serve from Banjul to Koina to Katong.
Yeah.
So how is this thing limiting the work?
And most of the times we have
Your services are needed everywhere in this country.
And most of the time we have logistical problems. Yeah. By now we should have been everywhere in this country to observe the supplementary voter registration. It could not be possible. We're expecting also donor support. Government can always give us what is available. I mean, let's be realistic, and the goodwill is there. They're willing to support us. Well, again, the structures, as has been mentioned by Mr. William, is where we have gaps. You know, we are not legally applied to request funds direct from the Ministry of Finance, or to have our own funding which is budgeted or appropriated by the National Assembly. These are the issues right now. But the good thing also, we have the goodwill of the government. We are being supported by our line ministries and the Chief of Staff. Hopefully, very soon, we will have the bill passed and amended and assented to by the President. We want to rebuild the bill. The old one is not fit for purpose. That's the thinking here.
So how soon, how urgent is it to have these bills passed?
It is very urgent, extremely urgent. And
are you calling for certificate of emergency? Clark. I'm calling it Clark. I was always calling him Clark.
I don't think there is the need for that at this moment. Because we still have the support of government. So we want government to look at it, at cabinet level. Where there is the need for amendment, we will agree to the amendments. But we want to further consult and want it to be a government bill. This is a constitutional institution, and it's a government institution.
You've heard from Chairman. He said, I mean, because of the limited resources, I mean, by now you should have been, across the country monitoring what is happening. Take us to what has the office been doing as far as the ongoing supplementary voter registration exercise is concerned? Where have you been? Yes, with the limited resources that you have?
Yeah. So thank you very much. As we said earlier, NCC have a broad mandate, and more especially when it comes to electioneering cycle. And of course, 2026, 2027, these are periods that the NCC is supposed to be very, very much active and busy. And since the start of, because of, again, election, you understand, is a process that have different phases. And right now we are in the first phase of the election. That
very
is
crucial.
Yes.
The build up to the election is very crucial.
So that is the voter registration. Of course, sometimes you have general, but you have supplementary. This time around, it is the supplementary, the general voter registration. We had that in 2021. So what we have in now is the supplementary voter registration. And the work of the NCCE is to inform, enlighten the citizens about the registration process, but also telling them about the importance. Why should I go and register as a citizen? What's the importance of doing that? And for us, that is very important, and that is why, of course, like he said, we have challenges in terms of funding, but for us, we think challenges are there, and those are natural, they are part of life. Every institution have challenges. But beyond challenges, what can we do to make sure that we continue to fulfill our mandate? And that means we need to be strategic, we need to be innovative to look for other options of being able to carry out our mandate. And that is what we keep on doing, trying to reach out to partners for collaboration to be able to carry out our engagements, reaching out to the citizens. So this year, since before the start of the registration process, we were on the ground visiting communities, especially URR coming down to the CRR. Most of the time it's hard to reach communities, grassroots communities, because for us, again, the strategy is, yes, everybody needs our information, but we think certain communities or areas need more because of what? Because of, in terms of access, they have limited access to information. When you are within the greater Banjul, you have a lot of opportunities to get information as to what is happening. But if you are far, those people, in terms of access, they are more limited, disadvantaged than others. And that is why we prioritize those areas. So when it comes to areas that are within the greater Banjul, we emphasize more on going to media outlets to continue to talk, because we think that will be an opportunity where we can easily reach out to all the, most of the citizenry. But our wish actually is to do and expand more on what we are doing. But like he said, with the limited funding, we try to strategize as to what areas we need to focus on more. So that we have started doing, engaging with a lot of communities. And when the process started, whilst we are doing the sensitization, we are also carrying some observations along the process. And why we are doing that also is to have first-hand information as to what are the challenges that people are having, what are the gaps. That way it will help in terms of adjusting, reinforcing our messaging to the voters, because they are going to cover almost 730 registration centers. But the first phase, is 100 registration centers. So challenges that are discovered or realized in the first phase, so that we'll be able to reach out to other areas that they are yet to visit. So that's what we've been doing, visiting these centers to get first-hand information, while the sensitization also is.
So are people actually responding to your messages?
Yes, so for us, I think the messages, people are getting the messages. Why? Because we are able to test that based on the last stakeholder engagement that we had with the IEC. The first week, after the completion of the first week, it was reported that at least almost 40,000, over 40,000 voters were registered. So that is a good number, and in fact it surpassed some expectation. And going by that rate, it means by the end of the 6 weeks, because the voter registration is going to be 6 weeks, so by the end of the 6 weeks, we are perhaps maybe looking at figures around 200,000 plus. So if we get in around 200,000 plus, if that adds to our current register, the current register we have 962,157. So if you add that, you are almost getting 1,200,000 plus. So I think that is a good number. People are coming, and that is something that NCC actually was advocating for. Mass participation, especially among the first-time voters, those that are turning 18 or those that would be 18 by December 5th. So that is very important. The only other, maybe the downside of it is the increased number of double registration that we had, that was reported.
Which has been flagged by even IEC, that around 2,000 people were caught.
So that is a concern. What is causing that? Is it lack of clear information? Is it a deliberate thing? Or it is because maybe people don't know? So it could be both. Maybe some know, and maybe foolers also sometimes want to play games.
Yeah, jolas as well.
Yes, but maybe some also is because they don't know. Yeah. And again, this is not new. Double registration is not new. The last registration, it happened, and you remember last 2021, it was general, but 2016 it was supplementary, and that 2016 supplementary, the replacement was not free. When you are registering fresh, it's free. But when you want to replace, you pay 200. Okay. But then you have double registration. Some people think maybe because there is a cost attached, that is why some people are avoiding and coming to present themselves as fresh. But this time, both processes are free. But yet we have that number, over 200, I think 2,800 registered voters that double registered. So that is a concern. And by law, if you go to the Elections Act 2025, it definitely flagged double registration. It's an offense. If you look at on the section 23 of the Election Act 2025, it definitely frowned against double registration. And
I will engage you more because you are more in the field than the chairman, and he's just coming in new. I mean, the issue of birth certificates.
Yes.
Is also a concern. We have seen several media reports about people trying to forge birth certificates, others using, what many perceive as frauds and all those things just to get people who are in fact minors, minors to be registered.
Yeah.
How serious is this?
Yes, so these are issues that have been reported in different corners, and even if you scan the environment on the media, you'll see a lot of reports coming in that aspect. And that is why even for us, if you look at, we made a press release some time ago, trying to caution actors to be mindful of sharing people's personal data, which is also an infringement into their rights. So those reports are there, and of course, like if you go to, again, the Election Act, this current one, it's a new one, 2025, on the section 13, it talks about the requirement to register. And among the requirement to register as a voter, it talked about, first, it has to be a Gambian. And of course, who is a Gambian by law? It says it can be in 4 different ways. You got it through birth, you got it through marriage, you got it through naturalization, or through descent. So once those things are there, what is going to prove that citizenship is documentation. and documents that are required by Section 13 of the Elections Act 2025, it talked about your ID card, it talked about your passport, it talked about your birth certificate. In the event that you don't have all these three documentation, then the attestation comes in. But attestation always has been an issue, and a lot of observers, even us in the past elections, based on experience, have flagged against the continuing allowing of attestation to be a requirement. But of course, politicians also have their argument that if you do that, you will disenfranchise a lot of communities, especially those that are in hard-to-reach communities. And they insisted that it has to be part of the requirement. So then attestation used to be the major problem. But this time around, we've seen it now extended to birth certificate. Birth certificate has come up as another issue where people in different corners, people are reporting incidents of people forging birth certificates. How that happened, I think that's also a problem. And of course, we are also in our monitoring. Yes, it informs our work, but beyond that also, we will also be coming with reports that we will share with election stakeholders. The idea is we are election stakeholders, but we are not a civil society. So we may not come out to kind of make certain kind of statement, inflammatory statements, condemning here and there, but we will do recommendation to the relevant authorities for consideration in future elections. That way it can address, because this is next election, it's going to be general voter registration in 2031. So it's important I take note of this, because then in the past, the focus is always the attestation was seen as the most problematic issue. But now birth certificate is becoming a problematic thing, especially the instance where we are having two birth certificates that are running concurrently. Of course, now it is clear that the elongated one, the old one, it's no more in use. That one has ceased to be issued since 2023. So now is the new biometric one that is in use. But of course, there are some with the old one. And it's important to distinguish when is this one expired and when is this one also taking place. So that is important. So those corners of or complaints of people coming up with birth certificates that are ineligible or not accurate, those things are there. And again, that is punishable by law. If you go to Section 111 of the Election Act 2021, and it in fact the penalty is huge. 500,000 together with a two years imprisonment, and even you can be banned for participating in an election for 10 years. So that is it's not as easy small thing. It's very serious punishment that is attached to any illegal way of trying to obtain the voter's card.
Chairman, I mean, having heard from Yusufa about what they have observed on the ground, I mean, he has bring up so many issues that we have also read in the media. I mean, as a chairman, could this in any way undermine trust in the entire process?
Absolutely, Aliu. Yeah, because what happened is we have a role to play, and we are playing that role. With the limited resources, we are strategizing, as you rightly mentioned. Well, we had a meeting, and the instruction was, with the limited resources, let's start moving. When we have additional funds or donor funds, then development partners are not forthcoming as of now, not because they don't want to chip in, but they have a process also. So, but in the meantime, we decided that with the limited resources, let's make sure that we strategize and go to certain areas. We are assuming that the Banjul, Birkama area are aware, but there is also a problem here, and that was the reason when I told them that as management, let's try to go and visit certain areas around. With our limited resources, we just need fuel and our vehicles. So, and that was done, and we have minor incidents. Definitely, they are very minor. But notwithstanding, we will continue to educate the citizenry, because that's our mandate and that's our responsibility.
So, are you satisfied with the turnout so far?
Yes, yes. I think so far so good. We are very satisfied with what we are seeing. But our problem is also with the people with disability. They are not forthcoming, and the youths, as he has been mentioned. We are anticipating that the first-time voters will be forthcoming. I mean, it's their civic rights. The votes are their future. They should decide who to. We are not telling them vote for A or B, but we'll be telling them that this is your right and this is your responsibility.
As a citizen, that's one thing that you. But Yusufa, I mean, You have heard from Chairman talking about maybe the low turnout of, people with disabilities and of course, perhaps young people. What do you think could be the reason?
Yeah, so especially for persons with disability, that is something that we observe. Most of the centers that we visit, some will mention maybe 1 or 2, some will even be mentioning 0 in terms of in daily what they register. Some throughout the period, the 5 days they spend in a particular center, they will tell you we have 0 person with disability. And of course, if you look at it in our communities, you'll see people with disability in those areas. So information perhaps could be one, and the other thing also is about, again, our society, the stigma that is attached to persons with disability. Sometimes we feel that certain things that people are busy doing, they should not be part of it. In fact, one of the guys, when we had an interview with him, that's what he said. He said, when you want to do something, some will say, you see now. So those kind of remarks are not also kind of encouraging. But of course, we will continue to preach, we will continue to enlighten, to sensitize, because again, under the Persons with Disability Act, political participation is there. It's fundamental. It's a fundamental right for persons with disability. Every citizen, there should not be any discrimination. The Constitution forbids discrimination under Section 33, that every citizen should be accorded the same right, the same opportunity. So whether registration centers, opportunities should be created for them to have easy access to be able to go and register.
That will have been my follow-up question. Is it about awareness, access, or trust? Some people just, okay, it isn't necessary for me to go and let me just stay home. So others, it's access. Maybe they don't even want to move 1 kilometer to go on.
Yeah, it could be both, because persons with disability, definitely, they have multiple challenges that hinders or even limit their participation. Even in terms of transportation, is a problem. When somebody is with a wheelchair moving, especially in a sandy area, streets, or we know the nature of our streets, sometimes movement is a challenge. So when you don't have somebody who can support you to do that, sometimes some of these things, you just look at it as a burden and just decided to let it go. But again, they have right. They should participate, not only to just to come and vote, but even in terms of even vying for political position. It is their fundamental right to do that. So we'll continue to encourage, and every stakeholder certainly need to do more to make sure that persons with disability are well accommodated. Of course, at the IEC level, we understand, even based on the previous election recommendation, they finally established a persons with disability unit at the election house. And all is geared towards trying to identify or recognize some of the challenges that they have and try to see how to accommodate those, try to solve those problems by accommodating or putting in place measures that will be able to accommodate persons with disability to be able to exercise their political right.
And Chairman, pending that bill that he's talking about, of course, relating to people with disabilities, the issue of access and many other concerns could be the reason that some people are not coming out to register, which is very important as a citizen, because your vote is your right. It's your voice. So certainly is very important. What do you think we should do as a country to address this issue about the access and all those things?
Yeah, it's a fundamental issue, and it's very important. It's their rights, as he has rightly mentioned. Yeah. They are part of the society, and it's our responsibility also, as government, civil society, IEC, and the NCC, to facilitate their movement. Apart from encouraging them, we should facilitate their movement, because I think most of the issues are because of movement problems. Yeah. If you look at access to certain buildings, it's a problem for them. Yeah. It's a serious problem. It's a serious challenge. Yeah. And the act is in place. But for people to build structures that they could have easy access without problems, you hardly see one in this country.
And it's a concern across most government institutions.
Particularly government institutions.
Yeah, you go there,
and these are things that we need to...
people with disability is a problem.
These are things that we need to prioritize.
It's a challenge.
I'm not sure. Maybe Yusufa will also talked about the youths not forthcoming. We centered this discussion on people's
So how crucial is their participation, young people?
What's the problem with the youths?
Okay.
Those that will attain...
Because you've been in the field. Chairman hasn't been in the field.
Those that will be 18.
Exactly.
Yes.
Come, 5th December,
So yeah, the participation of young people definitely is very crucial. And for us, we always emphasize the fact that voter registration is the starting point for you to be able to exercise your fundamental right as a citizen in terms of having a voice, deciding who should govern you. But beyond going out to vote for somebody, again, this is going to this will be the ticket for you to participate in December 5th, but also in the 2027, both the parliamentary, the chairpersons and mayoral election, and the local government election. You may say, okay, I am not very interested today, but tomorrow you may be interested to even contest. And without
you can't contest if you don't have a voter's card.
Without a voter's card,
it might be too late.
Exactly, it might be too late.
Without a voter's card, you cannot contest. Without a voter's card, tomorrow, even if your brother wants to contest, there's little you can do in terms of voting for you. Yes, you can go and canvass votes for the person, but when it comes to now taking serious decision, that is going out to queue, to pay, to vote, you will be excluded. You will not vote. And then you yourself, you start hating yourself because you would have regretted, I could have registered had I known, when actually it is late. So that's why we are encouraging everybody, whether you are young or elderly, once you don't have the voter's card, make effort to go and get the voter's card. That is very important. Whatever activity, engagement you have, please create time. Try to understand or know the schedule of the IEC when they are going to visit your community. Go there and register on time and go and keep your voter's card. That is very important, because when you miss this point, you will not have a chance again to participate. And this idea of I'm not interested in politics, you may not be interested today, but tomorrow you'll be interested. And that is something, a notion we want to take away from people. To sit, you cannot be sitting down in a country and say, I'm not interested. If you are not interested, who should be interested? So let's create time. Of course, for us, looking at the numbers, people are coming, but we need to encourage them more and more to come out and participate and register and get their voter's card.
So where can one vote? For example, if I register in Serekunda, can I go and vote in Jara?
Yeah, so that is important, and that is also another challenge that people sometimes have. You see people just go, maybe, again, our attitude sometimes, we like this last minute thing.
Yeah.
You can hear the registration schedule. It started on the 8th. Today exactly is the third week. Today is the end of the third week. Now they are going to the fourth week. So you now have almost 2 weeks left to complete the voter registration. So you sit up to the last minute and you hear them, they are in Abuko, you rush there and register in Abuko. And voting day comes, you want to come here to, let's say, post office to vote. Yeah. You will not vote because that is not where you registered. So where you register, that's where you vote. And then
okay. So in the event that I'm registered here and now I want to change my polling station to my village, Dongorba in Jara.
Yes.
How do I go about that?
So that is called transfer.
And I still have my valid voter's card.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So that is called transfer. So if you have your valid voter's card in the 2021 election.
But this is good for the viewers. Many people are watching, and these are things that they will really.
It's very important. So in fact, this thing you are raising is important because for me, I think that also contributed to this double registration.
Okay.
Some people last election, for whatever reason, we've seen a good number of people traveling to their villages, registering there. And then of this one, we've seen a kind of a reverse. People want to maintain where they are residing now to register there. So some parts, maybe they don't know that I don't need to go and register again. All that I need to do is to transfer. But if you don't tell them I want to transfer, you just go and present yourself as a new person coming fresh to register, you will be registered fresh again, and that's what is going to cause this double registration. So when you want to transfer, that is to change from your previous voting station to a new one. That is called transfer. That also window is open there. So, but what you do that, you don't do that through this registration center, but you go to the regional offices. IC regional office, that's where you go. You give them your details, they log into the system, and all your bio will appear, including your picture. They print the card for you, and then you go. That means they transfer you from your previous voting station to a new one. So that's important. So that's transfer, and it's important that we raise that issue.
So, Chairman, earlier on, I heard Yusufa saying, they were in the Central River region and the Upper River region. Yeah. To monitor the whole exercise.
And the sensitization.
I'm disappointed that you haven't been to my region, Jara East and Lower River region. Chairman, when it comes to the combos, what have you observed? We are in an era of misinformation and disinformation. This is something that you are really going to face as far as your civic education is concerned. What is in place to ensure that you are able to debunk most of the misinformation and disinformation surrounding, this, voter register and the upcoming elections? Because that's your work.
Yeah, that's our biggest problem
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Misinformation is everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's creating problems. It's creating chaos throughout these centers. What we are doing is, as he rightly put it, we are in everywhere.
Yeah.
We're trying to have our shows on TV, on radio, just to sensitize people. You know, with the limited resources, we are also trying to be strategic. You know, this is what we are doing as a civic education institution. But again, it's difficult.
Yeah.
The social media is very powerful.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of issues going around, misinformation, about registration, about transfer, and all these things. I think we are in it together, and we have to be responsible. Whether it's the social media or everybody. As a Gambian, we have to be responsible. And to send in the right information at the right time, so that people can know what is going on. I mean, it's an institution. We set up an institution and constitutional institution for civic education. Yeah. But civic education also is responsible of everybody, every Gambian. Because this is how we can maintain a peaceful country, yeah. You know, a stable country, which is in the interest of everybody. This is the Gambia we have. So I think the problem is we are doing everything possible to counter this misinformation, but we also have our limitations. Yeah. We're urging all Gambians to be more responsible, you know, so that we are all aware of the information that we send out to the media.
Yusufa?
Yeah, so as he said, it's a collective responsibility, and of course, with the era of social media, it is difficult to police it, but what is important is to remind ourselves that these things are real, and let us all not be complacent in terms of sharing when we see people coming up with false allegations, misinformation, hate speech. These are issues that are always very prevalent when it comes to election season, and this is not even peculiar to the Gambia alone. Yeah. Most of in the sub-region election period, these things are always on the rise. But what is important is for stakeholders, especially politicians, political actors, to be mindful and take up their responsibility. And those of us that are also operating on the media also, let us not help in terms of amplifying and spreading. Mm-hmm. When we see instances of misinformation, instances of hate speech, let's try to ignore it. Because once you don't give it the relevance, it will die out quickly. But the moment we start amplifying it, sharing, then that is where then it creates more problem. And what it ends up creating, it creates animosity, create problem. And if you go to the elections with emotions very high, it always creates tension.
So in that case, what is the role of the politicians themselves? I mean, they go to these rallies, they say certain things that I, as a journalist, I will never bring in my news report, yes, because exactly. It's hate speech, and for me it's not relevant. But for example, if you are saying something and it is being broadcast live, yes, on these social media platforms, and you know it's being amplified by, in most cases sometimes, even the mainstream media, how do we deal with that? The role of the politicians themselves. There's a certain example.
Yeah, Aliu, as we have said earlier on, it's everybody's responsibility, being a politician or not a politician. We all have the civic duty and responsibility to avoid hate speech, to avoid something that will bring chaos to this country or the destruction of this country. We have a civic duty. It's our responsibility, all of us. Whether you're a politician or not a politician, you know. So we should be very mindful of all these things.
All of them. You can't police a grown-up man or a grown-up female who stands at the podium and says certain things. Yeah. NCC can police you.
Yeah,
it is now up to you to be responsible.
Absolutely.
So, you know, support the NCC in their work.
Yes.
But if you stand there as a big politician and
we can inform them of their rights and responsibility. But they have a responsibility also.
Exactly.
To the state and to all the Gambians.
Set examples.
Good examples.
Yeah, for those rallying behind
particularly you. As leader, as political leader, as religious leader, it's your responsibility to act and to show good example. Yeah. So that your followers will copy something.
Because for me, it's very important. When I do news report or when I cover political events, you say certain things that sound like a hate speech, I don't bring them.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter who you direct that hate speech to,
Yeah.
being the incumbent or the opposition, I don't bring it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't tell well.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people that should lead by example, Yusufa.
Exactly. So, Ali, that's very...
So the role of the media in this whole thing is also important.
That's very important, and that's the unfortunate part of it. Even sometimes in our statement, we flag those kind of issues. Because when you are in position of authority, position of influence, leadership, you need to be very mindful. You need to be very calculative in terms of what you can say. What ordinary people can say and go scot-free. When you say it, it can create chaos. So we need to be very mindful, especially when we know that there is a lot of people that are looking up to us. But unfortunately, sometimes when it comes to election period, we see certain remarks coming from certain individuals that's supposed to be role model. So that is the downside of it, and we want to encourage all of them to be mindful about that, because election can make and break a country. So once we are in election period, we need to be very mindful, we need to be civil in our utterances.
Because I think it's important. I mean, elections comes and go. But this country remains. And then the peace of this country is something that we shouldn't compromise. And anything that's going to incite violence is thing that we should all come out and condemn. Outright.
Absolutely.
Outright. Because it's about elections. And, you know, there's a lot at stake as far as this election is concerned.
It is.
But
and at times, as professional journalists,
Yeah.
you can avoid those things.
Yeah.
But there are people
Exactly.
that cannot. They will just, report what they had or what is happening.
Yeah, because I think for me, it's not about the likes that we get online, but it's about being responsible and avoiding certain things that's going to incite violence as far as this country is concerned. I mean, we have
some kind of
this place.
discipline and professionalism.
I was born and brought up in this country.
Exactly.
This is the place I call home.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's something that I think we all have a role to play.
responsibility.
Not just the
Absolutely.
NCCD, but the media and everyone, all the politicians. We all have a role to play.
Play.
I mean, Yusufa, civic education. I mean, I have spoken to so many people in the past, and they said, Chairman, there is a need for us to reintroduce the issue of civic education in our academic curriculum. I mean, maybe from primary school, and then, you have people grow up with their minds of understanding what their roles are as citizens, but also what their responsibilities are.
That is already in the making.
Okay.
I think Yusufa, the office will verify in making sure that these things happen. Maybe Yusufa can elaborate what is already in the primary and I think secondary
school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereby, again, resources and collaboration with the ministry. These are issues that we can partner and work towards, for the interest of everybody, particularly the students, the pupils.
Yusufa,
Yeah.
how is it going? How is the program
so
going?
Ali, what you said is right. I think, like you mentioned, many have that observation that there is a lot that is eroding in our society in terms of values, in terms of love for country, patriotism.
Yeah.
People think that is something that is missing in a lot of us. We are more of individual development, but when it comes to collective national interest, that is something that is missing. And they think the best vehicle to achieve that is through civic education. And the right citizenry to target is the young people. And where do we get the young people? It's at the schools. And that is why a lot of recommendation came that civic education should come back to the school system. So that work has happened in the past, and eventually civic education is now in the senior secondary school. It's an examinable subject. It's not just a selective one, but it's a core compulsory subject. They do it at WAS level. And now what is in the pipeline is how to get it to the upper basic and then the lower basic as well. But the materials are all there for the upper basic and the lower basic. That is in terms of curriculum, syllabus, and all those things are there. So for the senior school, whether teaching syllabus or examination syllabus, they are all in place to make sure that from grade 1, you will be able to learn civic education up to grade 12. Because what happens is people go up to the tertiary level, graduate, but have very limited knowledge about governance.
They don't.
For example, if I am in the sciences, I can go to university, graduate, basic things about law, about the constitution, man lawyer.
Yeah.
So it is not for you to be a lawyer to know basic things in your constitution, to know about your rights and your responsibility. But because that is the system that we had then, so you don't have that opportunity of learning. Only maybe people that are in the sciences or the humanities will have that opportunity of learning some basics about governance, about maybe some constitutional matters issues. But with civic education, it does not matter whether you are in the sciences, you are doing mathematics, or you are doing humanities. all of you have an opportunity to learn civic education, to learn government, to learn about elections, to learn about basic knowledge about the Constitution, and be able to at least meaningfully participate in your development of your country.
So, Chairman, considering the critical role of your office, are you also considering having regional offices if you don't have at the moment?
Yes, that's one of the constraints we are having.
Okay.
Now we are in 2 regions.
Okay.
And we are being housed by the governor.
Oh, okay.
By the governor's office.
Okay.
Yes.
Which regions are you in?
Kerawan,
okay, Kerawan.
that is for North Bank, and then Janjambure.
I think it's important that we have offices in all the regions.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are doing a good job, fantastic job under the circumstances.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They are being lodged, they are being housed by governor's office, you know, but all the same, the irony there is that, you know, as an independent institution, you are being housed in government office. Yeah.
But it's the situation.
That's the situation we found ourselves.
Interesting. I mean,
and that didn't actually stop them from the entire work.
Okay. At the start of the program, you mentioned about the issue of, the financial autonomy. I know you have limited resources. You depend mostly on the partners and all those things. And I think if there's one office that really deserves to be supported this year is the NCCE, considering the role that you play. Have you reached out to them? If not, your partners, in terms of coming on board. If not, what message do you have for them? Look them in the camera and tell them, this is the message I have for you.
No, actually, we have a very strategic collaboration with partners.
Okay.
And we are expecting that they will come in.
Okay.
You know,
how soon? How soon? We are in April going into May now. You have no time. If they are coming to come now.
Resources is the problem everywhere.
Okay.
Even the donor community, the development community, they're experiencing the same thing. You know, based on these wars going on and all these things. So they also have to strategize where they put their money.
And the government?
Yeah.
Tell the president, Mr. Barrow, he's watching. that you need the money. You have a lot of work to do.
No, that one is true.
Okay.
That's the hard fact.
Yeah.
We need resources to be able to operate. Okay. Definitely without resources we cannot. And we will be thinking that when the draft bill is passed, then we will be able to have that, opportunity. Not only financial autonomy, but we need institutional autonomy. We need to be autonomous in both areas, not financial, administratively, so that we can be able to do our work without problems, without hindrance. This is a constitutional requirement. We quoted Section 199(3) of the Constitution. We should be able to operate without any problems, without any interference. And that will continue to be our position as a council.
Well, Minister of Finance, Sidiki Keita, if you are watching, or the President himself, please come to their aid. They need funds to really reach out to every community in this country to sensitize them about the role, that they have to play as far as this election is concerned. Yusufa, just tell us, in terms of other stakeholders, I have been to some of the registration centers. I have seen some other observers as well coming. How important is coordination as far as these observers are concerned? Because sometimes also it creates problems when you have different observers giving different information. Sometimes there's a problem. So you are so worried, or you don't know who to trust at the end of the day, because they're all observers working under different civil society organizations.
So you are right. Elections, of course. When it comes to election itself, you have different observers coming. You have domestic and international. But for this registration, basically what we see around is more of domestic observers. So since we are all within, it's important that we coordinate, we collaborate. In fact, when you coordinate, what it helps is, it helps you to have a wider coverage. Because where you cannot reach, you can easily rely on your other counterpart to be able to do that.
Exactly.
But otherwise, sometimes we end up grouping at one place when other areas perhaps maybe will be things will be happening that nobody will take note of. So that coordination, collaboration is very important in this election, because it's not about competition.
It's about complementing each other.
Yes, it's about complementing each other to make sure that we have a very smooth process. Where there are problems, we all speak with the same language. Because like you said, it's very dangerous. We have to go into election and be having conflicting messages coming. So that is not telling well, and even in terms of credibility of what we are also trying to do can be questioned. So it's important that as actors in the field, we try to collaborate, and I think that will help, definitely. That's a good point that you raised.
We're running out of time, I mean, Yusufa.
And
yes?
maybe to add on to that, like, civil society are observing, but also we have politicians also doing that. And for us, what we are saying is registration centers are not courts.
Okay.
They are not places to settle disputes. When we have problems, let's document all our problems. Let's document all the gaps, all the irregularities that we think are happening. Let's document them. And that is why there will be a period that will be open for the process. If you look at the Elections Act, Section 27, it made mention of the revising courts. And that is to say, after the voter registration, the voter list, provisional list, will be presented. It will be published for a period of 10 days so that people can go scrutinize it. And when you have anything, then you have another 14 days of objections on an appeal. And then the revising court will sit for 60 days where the Chief Justice will appoint first-class magistrates across the regions to be able to come and sit and hear all those challenges. So there shouldn't be any point or time for you to kind of try to address a problem or want to solve a problem on the ground. That will only create chaos. When the law says people get this document present to the registration center, once you get those documentation, even the IEC, the law says under Section 13(2), it says once you get all the documentation, it said the IEC shall register the person. And he said you cannot reject that person. So since that is the law, if you recognize a particular person that is not eligible, take note of it and let's wait for the time. When the time comes, we can go to the right place to seek for redress, rather than trying to create some confusion at the center. So that is not helping.
Chairman, I mean, finally, I mean, what's your final message to Gambians, especially those who haven't registered yet?
Yeah, let me just start also by reassuring the public that as a new council, we'll be working on a comprehensive and practical reform roadmap.
Okay.
Anchored on institutional autonomy
and financial autonomy.
You know, aggressive public visibility, and strategic partners. You know, and the only one is the visibility. We want to reach the grassroots.
It's important. It's important. Yeah.
That is very important. So we'll be working towards that. We came new into office. But this is the target. I think our able Chief Education Officer is working on something so that we can also have the opportunity to review all these things. My last word to the voters is go and register. Now is the time. Don't wait until it's too late, because you might end up, regretting the reason why you didn't go. Because today you might feel you are interested in politics, but tomorrow you might be interested.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's the responsibility of everybody to go and vote. Thank you very much, Aliu.
Thank you so much, Chairman of the National Council for Civic Education, Mamadou Cissé, and Yusufa Bojang, Chief Civic Education Officer at the NCCE. Thank you so much for your insights. And viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly State of Affairs program. I hope you enjoyed, this discussion, and of course, you will make best use of the insights that have been shared by my guest here. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye from me and the entire team.